All right, Algebra 1, we are moving on to Chapter 8. We've already done Chapter 8, Day 1, which is all this stuff, but I'm just going to skim through what we already did. Basically, a polynomial is one or more terms combined by addition or subtraction. Okay, so for instance, these are examples of polynomials. So 2x is one, 2x plus 3 would be a polynomial, or something a little longer like 2x squared plus 5x minus 2. That's a three-term polynomial because there's three things being added or subtracted. So when you look at the next part, it's talking about what standard form is. So when it's standard form, that means all the terms are in order, greatest to least exponent or degree. Okay? So when you look at these examples here, number 2, the highest exponent we have is k to the third. So that goes first. Then the next one is k squared. So that goes second. And then k, and then the constant. Okay, so that's standard form, making sure you have it in the correct order. Okay? And so you always want to try and get the highest one first. Okay, and when you look at number 6, this one has a total of 4 exponents. So that would technically go first. Even though this is a 3 and that's a 2, these are two 2's, which makes 4, obviously. Okay? So that's standard form, something we already covered a little bit, so you can go back and watch that video if you want. What we didn't talk about is the degree. So the degree is the highest exponent of a polynomial. Okay? So, for instance, a 0 degree polynomial would be something like got to get the degree. Hold on a second. This is okay, sorry, I found it. So 0 means that there is no exponents. So it's just a constant, and that's what it's called, a constant. Okay, so for example, that could be something like 3. That would be a constant. Okay? One variable would be something like 2x plus, not the example. A 1 degree polynomial would be linear. Okay, and an example of that would be something like 2x plus 1, because the highest exponent is 1. Okay? Having 2 would be called a quadratic polynomial. Something like 3x squared plus 5x. Okay, that is a quadratic because the square, x squared. Okay? And then if it's 3, that's called cubic. It's called a cubic polynomial. So that'd be something like 5x to the third plus 2x plus 1. Okay, so that's a highest exponent of 3. And then 4 and more is just 4th degree, and so on. Okay, so like 5x to the 4th or something like that. Okay, now when you look at the number of terms, so how many terms are there? If there's only one term, that is a monomial. Okay, if there's 2 terms, that's called a binomial, because bi means 2. 3 is a trinomial because tri means 3. And then 4 plus is called a polynomial. Okay, so after 4, or after 3 really, it's all polynomials. Okay, so examples of those would be a monomial, could be something like 5x squared. It's just one term. Binomial would be like 3x plus 1 because you've got 1, 2. Trinomial would be something like 4x cubed plus 3x minus 5 because you've got 1, 2, 3. And then polynomial would be anything more. So I could have like 5x to the 4th plus 3x cubed plus 2x squared minus 1. That's got more than 3, so that's a polynomial. Okay? So that's degrees and classifying by those names. All right? So classifying these, we want to classify it by two names. How many degree and how many terms. So this one is one term and it's a constant. So this would be a constant monomial. So you name it using both names. Okay? And then number 9 has two terms and it has the highest degree is 1. So it's a linear. And then how many terms? Binomial. Okay, and then let's look at number 12, the last one. That is a 4th degree because the highest is 4. So 4th degree, and then 1, 2, 3, 4 means it's a polynomial. Okay, that's it. So that's classifying. Okay, and so the next part we kind of already did, but adding and subtracting, just make sure when you add, you're combining like terms. Subtracting, we want to make sure to change the sign. So like on this one, we had to change that to plus and then change all the signs after. Okay, so let's look at a quick one of our examples we were supposed to do. So like this one. If I'm subtracting, I need to change this to plus and then change all of these signs to the opposite. Okay, so now to get standard form, I always start with the highest one. So 3m squared minus m squared. So the m squared, the variable doesn't change. It's the number in front. So 3 minus 1 is 2m squared. Then I've got 7m minus 2m is 5m. And then the last one we have negative 1 plus 5 is positive 4. And there's my new polynomial. Okay? So, if you have more questions on that, again, go back and watch the video. And now we're going to look at multiplying. Okay? So this is chapter 8, day 2. Okay? So a monomial times a polynomial. There's a product rule. Okay, so to distribute the monomial, you might have to use the product rule, which means if you have like x to the a power times x to the b power, your answer is going to be x to the a plus b. So basically, when you multiply a power times a power, you're adding the exponents. Okay, so before we do any of these, let's review. So if I have 2x squared times 4x cubed, what I need to make sure I'm doing is multiplying the numbers together. So 2 times 4 is 8. And then x, I'm going to add the exponents. So it's really x to the 2 plus 3. So 8x to the 5th. Okay? So the confusion sometimes is to multiply these. You are not multiplying the exponents, only the numbers in front. Okay, so for these examples, make sure you know what the exponent is. So x times x is x squared. And then x times 4 is like saying 1 times 4 is 4, and then x times nothing is just x. There it is. Excuse me. So example 2, same deal. I'm multiplying that to all three. 5 times 3 is 15. M to the 3 plus 2 is 5. Same thing. 5 times negative 1 is negative 5. M to the 3 plus 1 is 4. So that's another confusion, is that m is just m to the 0. Well, you got to put that invisible 1 there. And then 5 times negative 7 is negative 35. And then the m stays the same, m to the third. Okay, so we're gonna go through a few of these real quick and then look at the last part of multiplying. Okay, so let's look at some of these evens here. Okay, so right here we've got 9a to the first times a plus 1. So 9 times 1a, remember that's a 1 in front, so 9a to the second plus 9 times 1 is 9, a to the first. Okay, so let's go ahead and skip down here. X to the first, this is a 1, so that's x to the third. 1 times negative 1 is negative 1. X to the 1 plus 1 is 2. And then 1 times 3 is 3. X to the first. Again, you don't have to put that 1 there, but it is there if you want it. Okay. So this one's a little more challenging. Number 8, multiplying this by everything. So negative 2 times 6 is negative 12. Then add the exponents. X to the 4 plus 2 is 6. Negative times negative is positive. Negative 2 times negative 12 is positive 24. And then 4 plus 1 is 5, so x to the fifth. And then last one, negative 2 times 18 is negative 36. And then the exponent stays the same. There we go. And that's pretty much it. But the only other thing to keep in mind is when there's more than one variable, you need to add only the ones that are the same. So for number 10, everything else is pretty much the same. You're still multiplying by 3 to everything, but then you're adding the exponents. So let's actually look at number 12 instead. So 3ab times both of these. So 3 times 4 is 12. And then I've got a to the first, a to the second, so that's a total of 3. And then b stays the same, just b. Then 3 times negative 7 is negative 21. Again, a doesn't multiply by anything, so that stays the same. And then 1 plus 3 is 4, so b to the fourth. Okay, so that's multiplying a monomial times a binomial. One term on the outside times a binomial or trinomial on the inside. Okay, and so if you look at the other examples, it kind of combines the two together. Okay, so let's look at just a couple quick examples, and then we'll be done with this. So number 18, we've got 6x times 2x is 12x squared, and then 6x times 3 is negative 18x. Okay, so always pay attention to your variables, okay? But that's not it. I've got now this other one to do the same thing. Negative 5 times everything. So negative 5 times 2 is negative 10x squared. Negative 5 times 9 is negative 45x. And then negative 5 times negative 3 is positive 15. But I'm not done. See, this is where we need to make sure we're combining like terms. So look at the highest exponent, which is 2. So combine like terms. 12 minus 10 is 2x squared. Negative 18 minus 45 is negative, I have to think about it, 63x. And then 15 didn't have anything to add to it, so that 15 is all by itself, so net plus 15. And there's my final answer. Okay, so we'll do one more example and then be done for this video. So let's look at this one. 21. Got 3 things to distribute to parentheses before we can combine like terms. Always get rid of parentheses first. So in this first one, 3 times 7 is 21. V times V is V squared. 3 times negative 2 is negative 6, and you still have V. And then now positive 3 times everything, 3V squared. So 3 times V squared is 3V squared. 3 times 2 is 6, and then V. 3 times 1 is 3. And now the last one. This is not just 3V, this is negative 3V. So negative times negative is positive. 15, V times V is V squared. And then negative times positive is negative, so negative 9 with a V. Okay? So now, again, look at your like terms. The highest exponent is 2. So 21V squared plus 3V squared is 24. Plus 15 is, I'm not sure. Could I use my calculator real quick? So 21 plus 3 plus 15 is 39V squared. And I'm done with V squared. Now I'm looking at V. So I've got negative 6V plus 6V, those cancel, and I have negative 9V left over. And then the only thing left is plus 3, so that just stays plus 3. And now I've got my final answer. Okay, so we'll be able to practice this stuff. Make sure you're tuning into your weekly agenda, making sure you're staying up to date with things, and we'll be back to polynomials in class and at home. Peace.